Good morning, friends. It is your friend in flowers, Lisa Ziegler, and still having my coffee, sitting at my dining room table, and actually my family room table, with the beautiful view behind me of our little shade garden. Tucker is hanging out with me, and I am here this morning. I thought I would tell my unlikely story of becoming a flower farmer, and I'm telling it for that person out there that just really thinks that starting a flower farming business is out of their reach. And I am here to tell you, where there's a will, there's a way, because there was no less likely suspect to become a flower farmer than me. And so I'm just sharing my story here this morning about that. But I also wanted to mention that if you didn't catch Dave Dowling and I on YouTube last night, we went down the little rabbit hole of, is this endless internet searching sabotaging flower farmers before they even get started? And friends, it's worth a go over there and watch, because I truly believe that more flower farms are being burnt down before they ever get started because of the endless stuff that's being dangled in front of our face. Anyway, go check that out. I think it's on Facebook too, but that's over on YouTube. And so I made myself notes just because I am, you know how I am, y'all. So why was I a very unlikely candidate to become a flower farmer? Well, first off, I live in the middle of the city, still do, middle of the city of like 200,000 people. I think it's the funnest thing when people come here we're having our once a year workshop here this coming Saturday. And then they come once a year for our open farm. The most surprising thing to people is, oh my gosh, you really are like in the middle of the city. I am totally surrounded by houses, y'all. So I live in the middle of the city. And my parents weren't even really gardeners. I have no farming background, barely a gardener background, other than discovering gardening and literally just falling in love with all of that, right? So I say this, I'm telling this story not only for that person that thinks that you're actually, stalking flower farmers, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be a dream? But I could never do that. This is for you, because I'm just going to share how it kind of went for me. And sorry, y'all, I'm trying to read my notes. I haven't had enough coffee yet. So I'm going to tell my story, and then at the end, of course, I'm going to tell you again about what I've been screaming from the rooftops for the last 36 hours is we have a really special offer this week that can answer your dreams if you do the work. All right, so enough with that. So there's just something so deeply satisfying about the dream of starting a business, which is kind of racy, that's just very exciting itself. And then to start a business that's doing something you actually really love. And gardening is what's at the root of all this, right? So I can remember when I had my path, when I look back, I can see how it developed. But standing at my kitchen window in this house, Steve's grandma had planted just hordes of hydrangeas, and they were right outside of the kitchen window. And I also had a mother-in-law who was like the original entrepreneur. She didn't know that. She was one of those people, and you may have a mom or a grandma, somebody like this in your family. They always made something out of nothing. That's what drove her, was feeding her family, taking care of them on a penny. Because of coming up through the Depression, right? She always would say every time they were over here, you would think you could sell those flowers. And then it just all started to develop, y'all. So very, very true. I'm just thinking back. That was, you might have that person in your life that's actually pushing you. And maybe that person is me, right? So what I found to be incredibly valuable, and what I do in my when I speak, when I write, when I teach classes is I teach people how to fish. I am not going to give you a fish. And that's what's going to take you the long haul and applies to all situations. And it's hard. It's not, I don't want to say it's like going to school, y'all. You have to learn how to do business and how to be a flower farmer to actually do it well, and do it for the long haul. So I was barely a gardener when I discovered flower farming, right? And I was just planting and killing plants like the rest of the common horde, right? I mean, I was dabbling. I was planting full sun plants in deep shade. I was doing everything wrong. And then I met Stevie, my husband, and literally fell totally head over heels in love with this guy who happened to be a big vegetable gardener. And just step after step, just kind of happened. And then I stumbled on to flower farming. It's like, that's a career, that's a business, that's a life. And it literally lit me on fire, y'all. I mean, so I was the business manager of a very big, busy animal hospital, totally loved my job, loved the man that I worked for, loved everything. I loved the busyness and the hustle. I will say that the flower farmers that I see go the long haul are hustlers. And when I say hustlers, think of restaurant workers, how they're hustling all the time. That's what flower farming is about. If that's not you, you might need to find a different aspect of flowers to actually get involved in, right? So I stumbled onto this flower farming gig, and Stevie was just ever so encouraging. And, you know, sometimes if you can swim against the current, but I will just say that how much easier it is to actually do when you swim with the current, y'all. And excuse me, Tucker is ripping his baby apart because I'm talking to y'all instead of like being him being my center of attention. So having somebody support you made a huge difference for me. It really, because one of the things that I think people just don't even realize is how fearful, how overwhelming, and how hard farming is. And then put starting a business on top of it, y'all. If I didn't have Stevie, who is an entrepreneur, him and his family have a big business. So I've been very exposed to starting a business. I just can't even tell you how much the encouragement of that person meant to me. Can y'all hear Tucker just ripping his raccoon to pieces? I'm thinking if I ignore him, he'll stop instead of me chasing him all over the house while y'all watch. So, you know, Stevie encouraged me along the way, and you do not understand how significant encouragement and support means until you hit the first ditch in business. And it happens all the time, y'all. I'm 26 years in, and the ditches are just deeper now. I still hit them, and it helps me so much to hear from at the breakfast or the dinner table from my husband, their very successful business of over 50 years old business. Him and his sister and his brother, they got a ton of employees, a lot of our family, a lot of people dependent on them. They are hitting the very same ditches that I'm hitting and that you're hitting. And to have support and encouragement when you hit those is what pulls you out of the ditch. He's not stopping ripping that up, y'all. So my previous career, as I mentioned, was as a business manager. So that, in fact, led me, you know, I was starting to grow flowers, but I was more focused on the business part of the business. And I do believe that that's what staged me to really be a hit right out of the gate. I picked a mentor back then and followed the instructions, y'all. It is literally that simple. And you'll hear me say this over and over, especially if you're read my books or listen to me just yammer on. I believe that business and flower farming can be so simple that people just miss it. They assume it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more complicated than that. They go deeper, wider, get more confused, more overwhelmed, and more scared. It's very much the same with organic gardening. When I used to teach organic gardening, I used to tell people, it is so simple that most people just miss it. It goes right over their head. They assume it cannot be that simple. And I'm here to tell you that is the very same thing that I learned from the person that mentored me. And by the way, I never met that person for about 12 years. I consumed her products. It was a book and magazines, Grown for Market and The Flower Farmer. And that's all I had. And that's what led me down the path. Now, let me just tell you, because I didn't have community like we have now, I spent a lot more money than I should have. I made a lot of errors, hit a lot more ditches, but fortunately, I got up out of them. So staging my success was simpler and easier than it is for most folks today, because you have too many choices, right? I know this because I faced the same challenge. Y'all, I've done all these things that I knew absolutely nothing about. I had no clue how to write a book, building courses, building websites, starting hiring people. All of these different things were things that I just knew nothing about. And I would go down those rabbit holes. Like Dave Dowling said last night, you go into YouTube to look for a little how to do something video, and 6 hours later, you realize you got to go fix dinner for the kids. That's what happens until I finally learned that I just bypass all of that now and go straight to the mentor person that is doing or has done what it is that I want to do. Why should you reinvent the wheel, right? I mean, that's my methodology now. I am, as everybody is, I have too much to do every single day to spend a lot of time figuring out. I'm not saying you can't do research. That's totally different than surfing and looking at jumping from person to person and one questioning everything that you've done. I mean, you undermine yourself so very much. So I started my flower farming business in 1998. I launched my first garden. It was a cool flower garden. And because, here's the thing, I was reading that book, The Flower Farmer, during the summer. And at the end of the summer, I was pumped. I was ready to roll. And what was I going to do? So I decided to go back to that book, because funny enough, y'all, and this is a great tip, when you read a book or watch a course or if you get the opportunity to listen to a talk again, it's amazing how when you listen to it again and again and again, you hear something different every single time. You hear what applies to you at this point in time in your business or whatever it is that you're talking about. So I remembered, didn't she mention that there was something I could plant in the fall where, because she was in zone, I think, actually 6, and I was in zone 7 then. I'm going to go back and reread that. Well, when I went back to the resource, I found all kinds of information about planting cool season hardy annuals, the beginning of cool flowers, y'all, in the fall. And so that's what I did. My very first garden, the very first flowers I ever grew as a flower farmer. Remember, I was barely a gardener, y'all. Were cool season hardy annuals. Speaking of that, it was snapdragons, a sweet William, Indian summer rudbeckia, and sweet peas. I have to show y'all, when I ran out to get my tripod, look what I picked up on the way back. These are Velas peonies. I mean, they're really too late, right, to harvest for cuts. But we're getting ready. It's going to start raining while I'm talking to you, and I could not resist cutting these snaps. These are out of my demo garden. So I have these laying on my table for me to actually... oh my gosh, he's still tearing up that raccoon. Tucker, you need more coffee, buddy. Come over here. I hear his tail hitting the ground, right? So anyway, back to the story, right? So I launched that first garden. I spent the winter bearing down, and I bet I read that book 20 times. reassuring myself because I had no confidence. And there is definitely confidence in knowledge, y'all. When you kind of know your stuff, that's when your confidence, it just doesn't, you're not afraid to walk into any situation or afraid of any question, right? So I launched my business, started selling to Florist. That following spring was a home run because I literally followed exactly what the rules were. And my business just took off from there. And how grateful am I that I spent all that time just bearing down on learning how to fish instead of just learning how to grow a flower and then showing up. I mean, we see this every day, day in and day out. Phone calls to my office, DMs, emails, all over social media. You know, people asking questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, y'all, and that's not what I'm saying. But it is so evident how shallow their knowledge base is to be at the point that they are in already producing all these flowers and having no idea where they're going to sell them, how much they're going to sell them for. They're cut at the wrong stage to harvest, which just totally undermines your whole business when you sell that stuff. And that's what I'm talking about. We teach you how to fish, not a fish. And I think it's just starting to rain. So I went on to sell. So my business just spiraled. So then I just had to focus on growing the flowers. I kind of had much of the business model under my belt. You know, I figured out how to sell, all that process, taxes, had my business set up. And so I then started selling because all of a sudden, y'all, I was producing so many flowers from my little space. And why was that? Because I am a small space farmer. I'm in the middle of the city, right? No greenhouses. Still don't have any greenhouses, y'all. Did it without a tractor for the first decade. Didn't have a cooler for probably 7 or 8 years. And we still don't even use a cooler today. But that's all part of it. I built my model to fit all of that, right? So I sold to Florist. Then I started selling at a farmer's market. Then we started selling to 2 supermarket chains. Then I started a bouquet subscription drop-off service to businesses and to residents, actually second to Florist. That's how I started doing that. And then I launched an on-farm, private, members-only flower market here on my farm, which is a very interesting way that I got around the city's rules to be able to sell my flowers. You know, and I don't know if I said this earlier, but, you know, that mentor that led me and really grounded my business, I never even met her for over a decade. And, you know, friends, what I see people doing today, we're all looking for that instant bullet. We're looking to watch a video for 3 minutes or maybe even 30 seconds and know how to do something. And how many 30-second videos can you watch and put all the pieces together to actually get the big picture of what your business is? So I went from selling about 30 to 40 bunches of flowers a week to a couple florists that just within a few years, I went on, when I read this and talk about it, I still can't believe we did it. So went from 30 or 40 bunches of flowers a week, which is about 300 to 400 stems of flowers. That was my very first year. The guy bought everything I ever grew, right? To growing, oh, do y'all hear him ripping that? He is shredding what I thought was his favorite toy. I have to look. Yep, he's dissecting it piece by piece. Stand by, y'all. I'm bringing the victim. I hope this doesn't mean he's actually just pulverized his raccoon. He'll probably just get something else and do it now. So I went from 30 to 40 bunches of flowers a week for my very first spring season. And I didn't even know about succession planting back then. Oh my goodness, I think back of how much I didn't know and how I used to do things, and I cringe. To within just a few years, we went to harvesting 10 to 15,000 stems of flowers a week from my little flower farm. And that was all because I grew annuals, I learned how to succession plant. And we just became incredibly efficient because, my motto is, why would you want to grow a bigger garden if you can grow in a smaller garden and get the same end story? And that is kind of my story of doing that. And I call myself the racehorse model. I don't know if I'm not a horse race fan, but how they put blinders on racehorses so they don't even look at who's beside them. They don't look at the horses running next to them. It just keeps them looking straight, dead ahead. And that's what I've developed. I don't know that I was born that way. And I think that's another thing that folks get really confused about, is that we have to develop all these muscles, y'all. None of us are like born with this gift of doing these things that you see people doing. When you look at somebody that you look up to, or a mentor, or something you want to aspire to, trust me, they worked their can off to get there. And that's what it takes. And that's what I see missing from so many people. We have so many hardworking students that I have had in my course, and that I've had the pleasure of meeting in person. And it's not that they had more opportunities, or they put the work in no matter what they did, right? So I'm just reading my notes. And I did already mention that I really do believe a key piece of my success story as a flower farmer is having access to coming alongside other people that were doing what I was doing. Do you have any idea how affirming it is to be in a community of people where, whether you just had some huge weather event that just took out so much of your crops, or a pest, or a total crop failure for some other reason, or even worse than that, there's so many things that happen, to go into your community and to either see that somebody else had the not identical thing, but they were facing the very same thing. All of a sudden, your situation doesn't look so bad. All of a sudden, you realize maybe you aren't doing anything wrong. This is how it happens. This is how it works. And I know for me, oh my gosh, I just can't even tell you how it restores my soul to align myself to be with those people. Because let me tell you about starting a business. It's lonely, it's overwhelming, and it's hard. It's also the most rewarding thing I have ever done. And that's what people look at what I do today. I mean, I have interviews and recording videos to happen all day today. Do you think this is how it started? No. Ask any of my neighbors. They will tell you that I have worked my tail off for 25 years, growing flowers, cutting flowers, planting flowers, delivering flowers, bunching flowers, selling flowers. And that's what it is, but that's what we love to do. That's what I love to do. Not necessarily every single little job. And I will tell you this, that what we're getting to here is you have a choice. If you want to get in on flower farming and you really want to build a business, you don't have to wander around the internet collecting little tidbits and putting them in a pile and then not knowing which one to do in which order, or is that person really even doing it? I know because I'm in a lot of different circles now, in business circles. Right now in the business circle world, I have some mentors that are up on their soapboxes about folks that are charging, big money, y'all. It's like, it was staggering to me how much money people will pay to be led, right, in something that they really want to do. People that have invested tens of thousands of dollars with business coaches that haven't even done it themselves. They just developed a business coach business. You know what I mean? They've never started, run, lived, and kept a business. That's a whole nother deal. But what I want to say is, you want to come along beside be a student of, be a mentee of people that have actually done what you're doing. And that's a thick field now, even in the flower farming world. There are so many choices. And so when I say we, I founded Flower Farming School back in 2018. Because what I learned is when I went, and because I was doing like 80 to 100 lectures a year all across the country, farming to gardening, master gardeners to all different kinds of things. And what became really evident is I couldn't give people all they wanted in an hour or even in a day of teaching. Because they can't take it all in at one time. They need follow-up. They need support. And then online courses kind of became a thing, and it just seemed like the perfect match to be able to put what you need people to learn to do whatever the task is that you are actually looking to do, to put it in a form that they can watch it over and over and over. They can watch it as much as they want and need to. But better than that, they have it for lifetime, but better than that is the support that follows it. So our courses they were actually developed, our schools were actually created as a boot camp type of experience where it's 6 weeks of intense learning, and just incredibly overwhelming to people. And I get it because I took classes like that to actually learn how to build online courses and then to do business and marketing and all these different things, right? And what has happened over the next couple of years after they were huge successes, we have thousands of students that have taken our courses, but we realized there was an even better way to actually take those 6 weeks of courses and actually make them so people have access to them forever, which that's always been it, right? But to make it available all the time, and then to suggest how people actually start to consume them, to do them at a steady pace, and then to offer ongoing support through our private communities. There are thousands of frequently asked questions in our courses. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about the courses if you have questions about that. I had no idea how courses worked. So here's the deal. Buying a course from us is just like buying a book. But instead of picking the book up and reading it, you log in to your online course anywhere that you have the internet. And when you get into your online library, there are your courses. The courses, our big schools, are broken out into classes, and each class has multiple sessions. And I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to run through what the classes are. And then I may add a few tidbits. Now, this bundle offer that we're offering this week only is my class, The Basics, Flower Farming School, The Basics, Annual Crops and More. And the more is marketing, how to take great videos and how to take and do it all by yourself. That's my course. Everything from starting your business to building it to growing, selling, so forth and so on. And we've bundled it with my good friend Dave Dowling's course, Bulbs, Perennials, Woodies, and More. My course grounds you. His course flourishes what you're actually doing, right? So I'm just going to run through and tell you what the individual classes are. So in my course, The Basics, it's how to start and run a farm. Surprising things in there. The whole first class does not show a flower, y'all. It's about eating the ugly frog first. Taking care of the stuff that worries people, the business stuff, helping to figure out what do you have to do in your legality. What are the steps? How big do you see this picture? How am I going to have time to start a business? Do you have time to start a business? That's class 1 of my course. Class 2 is building and managing a working garden. Y'all, it is totally not gardening like we look at them as a gardener. I spent the first year wasting my time doing things that I don't even do anymore. They have nothing to do when you do. Everything is so different in commercial farming. The tasks, the efficiency, and so that's what class 2 is about. I build beds, by hand, with a shovel, with a tiller, and with a tractor. So whatever place you landed, again, I teach you how to fish, not exactly, you use part of it in the first class is take an inventory of what are your assets, what do you have that you can utilize to build your business. Remember Ruby. Ruby was my mother-in-law. Make something out of nothing. And I just really got a full dose of that. And I share that in class 1. And then in class 2, building this working cutting garden is an eye-opener, y'all. It was for me. I mean, I was a master gardener. I went on, before I became a flower farmer, I dove into gardening and tried to get better at what I was doing. I was flabbergasted of how different and how much more efficient gardening can be when you do it like a flower farmer does, right? Then selling what you grow. And that is what I see as the biggest challenge that most, people say, I just want to grow the flowers. I don't want to have to sell them. Well, you can do that, friends. It is perfectly all right to not start a business. There are so many people out there that are gifting their flowers. If you can do that, go for it. You don't have to start a business. But if you want to start a business, and I talked about this last night, the model that I see the majority of people that show interest that want to start a business are not like our friends. I mean, I look at Steve and Gretel Adams, who have 19 hoop houses. I look at Daniel Shavy of Petal Pickers, who has just blown. He was one of our students, by the way. Daniel has exploded his business. He ships flowers all over the country. He just started flower farming like 5 or 6 years ago, right? That is possible, but that is the exception instead of the rule. I find that most people are just looking for a way to add second income to their family and to do it doing something that they love. Number one is mamas that want to stay home with their babies, right? And then people like me, I just wanted to stay home with my golden retrievers and garden. That's kind of what the fuel was. Like, oh my gosh, I can remember driving out of my drive. I worked, I told you I love my job that I had back then. I can remember driving out of my driveway and turn around and looking, just like me walking this morning out to get the tripod and seeing these growing over in my demo garden. I just couldn't resist, because I was afraid the rain would get them. I couldn't resist running over there and cutting them. When I went to pull out of my driveway that day and turned around and my dog was staring at me from the window and there was my garden, that was like, I don't want to leave. I want to stay home. I want to stay home and do this, and I want to make something, and I want to contribute. Thank goodness I wasn't the person putting the bacon on the table, but I wanted to embellish our lifestyle, and that's what I see most people's ambition that they want to do. And that's what we help you do. We can help you start your business and do it profitably and sustainably, but you have to put the blinders on and stay in your lane and stop trying to do what everybody else is doing, which derails you over and over again. So selling what you grow is so much easier, y'all, when you have knowledge, you're confident, and you grow great flowers. And that's what that is all about. There's some of the different ways you can sell flowers, the presentation, and I'm going to bring these back again. So look at the ends of these. See how much shorter the peonies are than the snapdragons? And look how impressive that looks, right? You can see the snap heads. You can see the flowers. When I first came in here, this is not how they looked. This is how I cut them. I'm trying not to knock the camera over, y'all. How unimpressive is this? By me just moving the peony heads up to where these flowers are, it changes the whole experience, doesn't it? Presentation, presentation, presentation. That is one of many things that I rock your world on. I was so crazy about that. Sorry, y'all, I keep going down rabbit holes. There's so much in these courses. These are your go-to for anything flower farming as your business grows and develops. All right, so selling what you grow, then what annuals to grow. And friends, I'm telling you, if you can put your blinders on and stay in the annual lane long enough to make some money and decide, am I really going to do this gig, before you start buying a bunch of stuff that you may not need later if you're not a flower farmer, spending money, going in debt, y'all. The stories that we hear is unbelievable. If you spend a couple of years learning how to flower farm, learning how to run a working garden, getting customers. I had customers waiting before my first flowers started, right? Lining yourself up to be success. Here I am. I am your poster child of doing that, right? So, what annual flowers to grow? Then starting seeds and doing it in volume. And again, remember, I have no greenhouse. Still don't. Do it all in a 10 by 10 room, and it is very possible. And then the icing on the flower farming cake, which you can go into social media right now and find tons of flowers that are old being offered. We see them in farmers market pictures. Harvesting and conditioning, how you do it, what you do it, why it's so important, and just all tidbits about that. So that's my course. Now, once you've done that for a couple of years, first off, Dave Dowling would tell you, if you think you're going to stay in flower farming, the number one thing you should do with your first monies that you earn is to buy peony roots. And he tells you where to buy that stuff. You should not be buying from big box stores. Oftentimes, first off, they're usually more expensive. Wholesale buying is the gift of becoming a flower farmer once you get a business license. And that's one of the things I talk to you about, is like how to get yourself staged that you can buy from anywhere. It changes everything, friends. I can't hardly bear to go to a retail store anymore. So having Dave's course, which is after you've gotten and this is exactly what happened. I built flower farming school and had my first class of students in, which was a little less than 1,000 people, I think. Then, there's a percentage of them that hit the ground running. They are going to do this. They're going to start a business. The first thing out of their mouth, we want to grow more now. We have customers. We want to sell more to the customers that we've actually generated here. And there was no question in my mind that I knew who I was going to tap to teach that class. Dave Dowling's name in the cut flower industry is the walking encyclopedia. Dave is deep and wide, y'all. He's been the president of the ASCFG several times, director. He and I both together, we have over 50 years of growing experience. We made every mistake. We went down every dark road that you shouldn't go down, and we share it all. We spill all of the beans. And I just can't tell you how valuable that is to have somebody that you can have access to. And so let's just talk about that for a minute before I tell you about his course. So we have private Facebook groups. Yes, I know not everybody loves Facebook. I don't love Facebook either. But did you know that you can be on Facebook as a business and not have to have a personal page? As a business, you should be on Facebook and Instagram. They're free marketing tools, y'all. You have to put your big girl pants on and control yourself on it. You're not a child. You have to be the adult in this business relationship. So we have private Facebook groups just for our students. And if you have a question that is not answered in our tons of content that are in our courses, and then there's tons of frequently asked questions, all of which are keyword searchable. You can go in and put whatever your keyword is or your phrase that you're trying to figure out, and it brings up where that may be throughout your course. That is your go-to. Second, if you can't find the answer, that's when you ask a question in the community. The community is there to support you through the ups and downs and to give you the pat on the back and the congratulations when you actually have successes, right? But if you come across you're stumped, that's where you post it. We actually have an employee of a team member that swims our Facebook groups looking for questions that are intended for the instructors. You can tag us, but people don't often do that. And we get tagged via our team member, and we come in and answer. No question will go unanswered. And let's just say you do that and somehow it gets missed. That's when you email the office, info@thegardener's workshop, and say, hey, I'm a student of Lisa or Dave or both, and I posted a question and nobody has answered me. It'll get answered. Friends, there's tons of stuff going on. Sometimes you just have to tap. And I want to just also, there's so many things that I could talk about in here, y'all. I also firmly believe that in my course, a big piece of what I'm offering to you is how to become a professional. Dave and I talked about that last night. I am speaking Thursday night. Let's see, Thursday night, I think it's back here on Instagram. What's the topic? Are there too many flower farmers? Friends, join me Thursday. You will be so surprised and amazed and happy over what I have to say. We need more. Professional is the key word here, y'all. I am willing to speculate that 90% of the people that you think are selling and are your competitors that you're seeing on social media aren't really in business. They're dabblers is what I call them, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It is people that want to grow flowers, that are thinking about selling flowers, and they're doing a little of this and a little of this. They're not really putting their nose to the grindstone and going for it. The nose to the grindstone are the people that we need. There are unending opportunities. And also, because I'll say this, you do realize that 8 billion with a capital B, y'all, dollars worth of cut flowers are sold in the United States alone every year. I'll say that again, 8 billion. And 80% of those flowers are imported. There is no ceiling. There's just a lack of professionals to actually reach those customers and take care of them in a professional way. So if you want to actually do that, we have the roadmap for you. Now let's look at Dave's course. So Dave's course is what's piggybacked onto my course. They're the perfect match together to take people, get them grounded, dabble that carrot in front of your eyes. You're not going to be planting all this stuff your first 2 years because you're going to be really busy building your business and getting your foundation in. Although I will say, I agree with Dave. If you are really feeling pretty serious about being a flower farmer, plant some peonies so they can be getting mature, so they'll be ready and waiting for you when you head into that second and third year, right? So Dave's course, which is laid out, I think it's 77 different crops. The first 2 classes, which are built of many multiple sessions, are all about the bulbs. Everything, tulips, ranunculus, dahlias, everything that grows from an actual bulb or a rhizome or a tuber, all of that. He tells you everything. What size, there's a great lesson in there. First off, I also want to say, which I haven't even mentioned here, you can actually type the word bundle in the comments here, and we will DM you the link to a sneak peek inside my class and inside Dave's class. So just type in bundle and then check your DMs. So one of the lessons that Dave teaches you in here is why it pays to buy larger size bulbs, which typically you cannot get out in the retail world. And he does it with narcissuses, with daffodils, and just shows you the money trail of why paying more for larger bulbs ends up being less per stem in the end. He tells you everything you need to know. The varieties, the size, the harvesting, the spacing, all the things that I'm telling you, friends, you will not find on the internet for flower farming. We hear from people every day, oh my gosh, I read online that I was supposed to, plant those shrubs 8 feet apart. Well, friends, yeah, you do that in a landscape, but not on a flower farm where you are heavy pruning constantly because you're harvesting for cuts. You don't know what you don't know, friends. So there's 2 of the first classes in Dave's class covers all these different bulbs, ranunculus, anemones, all of them. He is the master of all these crops, y'all. Then class 2 and class 3 are perennials. And he just gives such great analogy of saying, don't, under any circumstances, plant all of these things at one time. You need to pick a few and gradually get them into your rotation. Slow, y'all, slow and organic growing. And when I say organic, I'm not talking pesticides. I'm talking build your business, build your momentum, build the demand for your flowers, build your team as you add more parts of your flower farm. Then The next class is on woodies. Woodies are shrubs. Thinking hydrangeas, lilacs, viburnums, dogwoods, so many different crops. And it's all about the variety. You know how they say in business, in brick and mortar businesses, stores, it's location. In the flower farming world, a big piece is variety. We have counseled people that have invested thousands of dollars in the wrong varieties of either perennials or bulbs or woodies. You know, the one that jumps into my mind is the one that Dave talks about, that they bought thousands of bulbs of tulips, but they bought tulips that only get like 10 inches tall. They're for a landscape. They had no idea. Y'all, you don't know what you don't know. Then Dave's last class is kind of like an introduction. What did he say? Farm structure basics. He kind of introduces to you what can be done in hoop and greenhouses and how to get your appetite going. That's like the next step. And we do have a course called Growing Cut Flower Crops in Hoop and Greenhouses with Steve and Gretel, which will totally blow your mind. You don't even want to go there, y'all, until you're like, got your business going, you've got customers, you've got demand, then you start growing more and more with Dave's class. Then you say, you know what, I am in this. Let's purchase a structure if you're able to do that. But I was never able to do that. I'm still in the annual part, y'all. I never have been able to actually do that. So the special offer that we have this week is called the bundle, which you can just type bundle into the comments and I'll DM you a direct link that includes a sneak peek into each one of our courses. It actually shows you a session. I think mine is on irrigation, and I'm not sure what Dave's is on, but you can put that in. This bundle is our customer favorite. It's always our biggest offer of the year. So each individual course is $695, which that's a lot of money, but it's also a BB in the Astrodome when you consider how it's going to affect your business, the mistakes you're going to avoid, the potential income that you're going to have. I mean, I literally could talk all day about that. You just can't imagine how good it is to pull out your phone out of your back pocket. Because by the way, our courses, we have an app for our course. You can watch everything on your phone. You can listen to them like podcasts on your phone. So the courses are $695 when you buy them separately, which is an incredible value. But this week, we have bundled them together with a special offer of saving $240. You can get both of them for $1,150. Friends, that is a BB in the Astrodome to what they're going to do for you. You have immediate access to all the content immediately. All the classes, all the bonuses, all the updates, all the frequently asked questions, and all the course of my course is actually keyword searchable. The way Dave's course is laid out, you don't even know that. You go in and it just lists the crops. You go straight to tulips. When it's time to, and here's the big benefit. Sorry, y'all. So you purchase the courses. You're going to work to get your business up and running or to hit the reset button, right? And midsummer, you're thinking, I can probably do this. Well, now's the time to order those extra crops, the perennials and the bulbs. If that's what you're ready and prepared to do, you'll have it right at your fingertips. And where to buy them and where to purchase them. That is key. And we do include Canadian resources. Now we've got resources for Canadian folks. So you get full access. What my recommendation, and friend, this is the beginning of being a business owner. I've said a couple of times that you have to be the adult in this relationship. If you cannot carve out and set aside a couple, 3 hours a week to build and work on your business, not in your business. I'll say that again. If you can't carve out a few hours each week to work on your business, not in it. And what does that mean? Working in your business is out there cutting flowers. It's starting seeds. It's doing what the business day to day is. You have got to make time to actually work on your business. What are you? Do you have seeds? What's your ordering situation? Have you planned out your next 6 sessions? What other avenues do I have for actually selling my flowers? Because I'm going to have a lot more flowers now that I'm really embracing succession planting and the business part of things. And I would be willing to bet if we just cut out scrolling for 90 days, that's all I'm asking, friends, is for 90 days. And to take that time, even if it's each morning for 30 minutes or 45 or an hour or in the evening after dinner, whatever, and actually jump in to information and resources that will benefit your business for the life of your business each and every time. And so I understand that it's challenging this time of the year, but flex your control muscle. You're the only one that can make that choice. And I have to make that choice. I had to literally rearrange my entire schedule to carve out time for me to actually take a step back and evaluate business. So it never ends. I'm still facing that challenge myself personally. So I understand the challenge. So the bundle is only available this week. It's $1,150. You get 2 packed courses with resources, the basics and bulbs, perennials, and more. It's what you need to start or to hit the reset on your business. And I'm just going to take a little scroll back through and see if anybody posted a question. I thought I saw one somewhere here. I think one of the biggest benefits, I am not suggesting at all that people not do all the other things. It's a mix of everything. Conferences, magazines, books, courses. You need all of them, friends. You need everything, right? So I'm just scrolling. There's just so many on here that all right, I thought I saw a question. All right, so you can comment bundle here and that'll DM you. Of course, you can find it on our website, thegardenersworkshop.com. It's over there. Please, do you need some people to come and work for you? You're saying this because I am also in need of work. And yeah, sorry. We are not hiring right now. But these courses really provide the opportunity to start a business, to become profitable and sustainable, and to help keep you with your blinders on. Y'all just put your head down and actually work. In my mind, you just have to make the decision that you're going to be the grown-up and you're going to make that decision. Again, I recommend that you go check out me and Dave on YouTube last night talking about is this endless scrolling and searching on internet sabotaging new flower farmers. And I'm here to tell you that I believe yes, 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 it is. This is an opportunity where it's a one-stop resource go-to with everything that you need to actually start and build your business. I want to use the word grow, but that's kind of rhetorical. So Flower Farming School Online, the basics, marketing, and more. My class will get you started, will ground you, will build your confidence. Dave's class will explode what you're able to grow and sell more to the customers that you have gathered and built. And I do see that as a really big problem where people are missing that piece. So friends, I hope you have a great day. I'm going to actually reheat my coffee now that I've, not drank it, right? I'm going to go get these flowers in some water and hit the ground running. Tomorrow night, you'll find me over on YouTube talking about it's easy to start a business. It's hard to keep the business. The key, the buzzword that people use is actually sustaining or making it sustainable. Friends, it is all about just putting your head down and doing the work and keep doing the work. If you think about it, as a flower farmer, you're just doing the same things over and over and over and over again, starting seeds, planting plants, cutting plants, selling plants, over and over and over again. And it's when people veer off from that, that say they want to have a flower farm and make money from doing that, that get lost. And it doesn't have to be that way. I spoke last night of, I think of a couple of our students that have just gone on to build bigger and better things for them in their situations because they have the resources. Look at Daniel of Petal Pickers. Look at Nicole Pitt of Flower Hill Farm of New York. She has gone on to take over her little town's deserted, closed nursery and is building it into this amazing destination. And it all started with flower farming, and they are our students, and we're just so proud of them, and I highly recommend that you follow them on social media. Follow people that are doing what you want to do, y'all. Doing it. All right, friends, I'm out of here. Thanks for joining me this morning, and here's to a great day. And I hope to see you again, and I really hope to see you on the inside of Flower Farming School online, which can help make your dreams come true. That's what we're offering to you. Thank you all so very, very much.